South Korea's President Yoon Suk-yeol was impeached on Saturday. The vote followed his brief and unsuccessful attempt to impose martial law in early December. A new election must be held within 60 days if a president is dismissed or resigns.
South Korea's opposition-led parliament impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol on Saturday, voting to suspend him from his official duties over his short-lived attempt last week to impose martial law. Protesters gathered outside South Korea's National Assembly early today, demanding accountability from President Yoon Suk-yeol. The controversy erupted after President Yoon attempted to impose martial law on December the 3rd, a move he rescinded just 6 hours later. However, it has thrown the country into a constitutional crisis. In a speech on Thursday, Yoon defended his actions, calling the decree necessary to overcome political deadlock and safeguard the nation's democracy. Despite his justifications, critics accuse him of abusing his power and violating the law. At the same time, today, a pro-Yoon protest is taking place in Seoul to show support for the embattled president. Yoon Suk-yeol vowed not to give up and said he would do his best until the last minute for the country.
Georgia has a new president. Former footballer and player and politician Mikhail Kavalashvili has secured the presidency, raising questions about the country's political direction.
Mikhail Kavalashvili received 224 out of 300 electoral votes, securing his position as Georgia's 6th president. His inauguration is set for December 29. A former Manchester City striker and a founding member of the People's Power Group, Kavalashvili has made headlines for his strong anti-Western rhetoric. In the past, he accused the opposition of following US instructions to destabilize Georgia and claimed American officials were plotting to spark a revolution. Backed by the ruling Georgian Dream Party, his election was seen as a foregone conclusion, as the party dominates the Electoral College. The role of the Georgian president is largely symbolic, with limited powers, such as issuing pardons and vetoing laws. His election is all but assured, as the Georgian Dream dominates the Electoral College of members of parliament and local government representatives. Kavalashvili will succeed Salome Zurabichvili, who has openly criticized the government for derailing Georgia's EU's aspirations and denounced the recent parliamentary elections as fraudulent.
And now our correspondent from Tbilisi, Leila Rahimli, has more on that.
Hello, I'm reporting Tbilisi, where Georgia has just witnessed a presidential election that has sparked nationwide protests. Today, the ruling Georgian Dream Party, through an electoral college it controls, elected Mikhail Kavalashvili as Georgia's next president with 224 votes, while one vote was declared invalid. Ada Marshania, who is represented in the electoral college from the Supreme Council of Abkhazia, stated that she didn't support Kavalashvili's candidacy and put blank sheet of paper in the ballot box. This election marks a significant shift, as it was not decided by the people but by an electoral college. The position, current President Salome Zurabichvili and tens of thousands of citizens are rejecting this process, calling it illegitimate and demanding new parliamentary elections. The ruling Georgian Dream Party insists that Kavalashvili's election will strengthen Georgia's statehood. Mamuk Amidzinradze, a top party official, phrased Kavalashvili, saying he did not and will not betray his homeland. Parliament Speaker Shalva Papashvili criticized Western allies, calling them fake Europeans, and urged the opposition to stop boycotting and recognize the government. In a statement following the elections, Prime Minister Irakli Kabakhidze repeated the government's commitment to pursuing EU membership, saying Georgia will do everything for European Union membership. He also dismissed the opposition protest, claiming Maidan in Georgia has failed, and stated that Zurabichvili will have to leave the presidential palace. Kabakhidze further emphasized that Kavalashvili's election would strengthen Georgia's statehood. And despite these events, the opposition and protesters argue that Georgian dream is undermining democracy. Now they believe this election damaged Georgia's chance of joining the European Union. President Zurabishvili dismissed the election entirely, saying there is nothing. Nobody elected anyone. Meanwhile, protesters are marching from various parts of Tbilisi towards the Parliament building, where they've been demonstrating for 17 consecutive days. Adding to the tension, it remains unclear how the government will respond if President Zurabishvili refuses to leave office when Kevashvili's inauguration takes place on December 29. Finally, Azerbaijan President Ilham Aliyev has congratulated Kevashvili, expressing hope for strengthened relations between the two nations. The atmosphere in Tbilisi is charged now. We will continue to follow the developments and keep you updates. That's the latest updates for now. I'm Leyla Rahimli reporting from Tbilisi, AnewZ.
Over 1.1 million Syrians have been displaced since November 27. That's according to the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs. Civilians, including women and children, are seeking shelter in temporary rest centers and are reportedly facing severe food shortages and movement restrictions.
1.1 million displaced Syrian civilians are reported to be under tough conditions. The United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs reports that nearly 640,000 of the displaced fled from Aleppo province, 334,000 from Idlib province, and 136,000 from Hama province. These areas are facing great challenges which deprive civilians from their basic needs. Northern Aleppo is facing severe food shortage along with insufficient water supplies, leaving people desperate of two key resources for survival. Bakeries are shutting down due to a severe shortage of flour. Power outages are frequent, leaving thousands without basic needs and leading the already fragile area to a bigger desperation. Meanwhile, in Damascus, the country's capital, uncertainty is growing. Currency depreciation, surging food prices, and the collapse of transportation systems have worsened the situation of residents. Carl Skau, Deputy Executive Director of the UN World Food Programme, warned in an interview that Syria might face enormous humanitarian needs in the near future, adding that the UN's focus will shift towards supporting Syria's recovery and reconstruction in the coming days.
Severe fuel shortages have forced drivers in Damascus to wait in long lines at gas stations. Syria's new rulers, who took power after toppling President Bashar al-Assad, now face the urgent challenge of restoring basic services.
Long lines of cars stretched around gas stations in Damascus as a severe fuel shortage entered its 11th day. Many drivers have been unable to work with the scarcity of fuel disrupting daily life across the city.
There has not been fuel for 10 days, so I did not work. Today there is fuel, so I came to refill.
Years of conflict and sanctions have left infrastructure crippled and the economy in tatters. Citizens struggle to find basic commodities, forcing some to use alternative fuels or wait indefinitely for promised supplies.
Now there is no gasoline, so I fill a gallon with fuel oil. We were told that there will be gasoline in the upcoming 2 days so that the circuit rotates.
With cities in ruins and resources stretched thin, many Syrians question how quickly relief can come. The path to rebuilding is long and the stability remains uncertain.
Once an exclusive retreat for Syria's most powerful family, the Assad summer resort is now open to civilians. It offers a glimpse into a past that many are eager to leave behind.
Syrian civilians visited what was once the Assad family's exclusive summer resort, following the toppling of Bashar al-Assad after a 54-year rule and a 13-year civil war. The resort, located in Burj Islam, features a white villa with balconies overlooking the Mediterranean, a private beach, gardens and walking paths now reduced to shattered glass and damaged interiors. A citizen who cycled 40 kilometers from Latakia expressed his emotions.
I can't explain how this is. It's enjoyable. I think I feel freedom for the first time in my life. I can't believe my eyes. They built something we didn't see in all my life, our life in Syria. You know, did you see the streets in Syria? All are bad.
Displaced Syrian Turkmen forced out when the resort was built 50 years ago walked through the site for the first time.
A few hours after Assad fell, we came in. We don't want these views, these beautiful places, to be damaged.
The resort, once a secluded space of power for Syria's ruling family, now lies abandoned, its ruins reflecting the profound changes sweeping through the country.
The U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has emphasized the need for the United Nations to play a central role in Syria's transition. His remarks came during a high-level meeting in Aqaba, Jordan, with the UN Special Envoy for Syria, Geir Pedersen.
The U.S. Secretary of State highlighted the challenges facing Syria in the wake of recent rebel victories, which have significantly altered the country's political landscape. Blinken spoke during a meeting with Pedersen in Jordan on Saturday, underscored Washington's commitment to a Syrian-led transition guided by UN Security Council Resolution 2254.
Determination to work together to support a Syrian-led transition where the United Nations plays a critical role, particularly when it comes to the provision of assistance, to the protection of minorities, to all the work that needs to happen going forward. So I look forward to this opportunity to compare.
The UN Special Envoy for Syria, Geir Pedersen, called the urgency for humanitarian aid and political inclusivity, calling for immediate efforts to stabilize the country and prevent the collapse of state institutions. Blinken's Middle East tour aims to align efforts with regional allies, ensuring a united approach to Syria's future with inclusivity and minority protections at the forefront.
France woke up on Saturday to a new prime minister. President Emmanuel Macron appointed François Bayrou after his predecessor, Michel Barnier, was ousted by parliament.
François Bayrou accepted the position of Prime Minister on Friday, over a week after former Prime Minister Michel Barnier was pushed out following a no-confidence vote in the National Assembly. He was opting to bypass Parliament to push through a contentious social security budget. Bayrou's priority will be to steer the country out of its political crisis and negotiate with the opposition to agree on the 2025 budget. The 73-year-old acknowledged the difficulty of the task.
I believe that this question of deficit and debt is a question which poses a moral problem, not just a financial one, but a moral one, because getting rid of burdens by passing them on to your children in countries like ours, with our mountain villages and rooted communities, it is very badly seen. Faced with such a serious situation, my course of action will be to hide nothing, neglect nothing, and leave nothing aside.
Meanwhile, some local residents are expressing disappointment over French President Emmanuel Macron's latest pick.
Honestly, it's really nothing new. It really seems like it's the old resumes being brought back. It's super disappointing. I think it's very disappointing because we really expected something different from the part of the president, rather than putting a series of old men as head of the French government, as prime minister. So yes, it is a big disappointment.
I was expecting former Prime Minister Bernard Cazeneuve. It's not a surprise, so it follows the same trajectory from past years since Macron arrived at the Élysée Palace. It's not a good surprise, but it's not maybe the worst that we could have expected, considering how politics is veering to the right.
François Bayrou is Macron's fourth prime minister this year. It remains to be seen whether the new appointee can survive until at least July 2025, which is the earliest possible date to hold fresh legislative elections.
As the year wraps up, France finds itself at a political and economic crossroads. After Michel Barnier's government collapsed following a no-confidence vote, political divisions deepened.
France is facing a political crisis that could have far-reaching consequences for the Eurozone. Marine Le Pen's far-right party has gained traction, posing a serious challenge to President Emmanuel Macron's government. The rise of populism and increasing discontent with Macron's economic reforms have shaken France's political stability, with implications for the European Union. Le Pen's national rally is polling at around 25 to 30%, while Macron's Renaissance party struggles to maintain its support base. Disapproval of Macron's pension reforms has further fueled political tensions, with protests erupting across France. France approaches a political and economic crossroads as 2024 ends, following the collapse of Michel Barnier's government after a no-confidence vote. Appointed in September to address the deficit crisis, Barnier's tenure was marred by backlash to austerity measures, including tax hikes and spending cuts. His efforts to reduce the €3.2 trillion debt and comply with EU fiscal rules failed amid fierce opposition from Marine Le Pen's national rally and far-left factions. Macron appointed Barnier to stabilise the situation, but his budget bypassed parliamentary debate, fueling discontent. France's deficit rose to 5.5% of GDP in 2023 due to massive pandemic-related spending, prompting the European Commission to place it under scrutiny. The EU requires a deficit under 3% for financial stability. With the 2024 deficit projected at 6.1%, Barnier proposed a budget of €40 billion in cuts and €20 billion in tax hikes to reduce the deficit to 5% by 2024-2025. While this plan satisfies Brussels, it remains unpopular within France. Now, France faces rising bankruptcies, inflation, and a fiscal outlook, with Moody's warning of broader risks to the Eurozone.
This week, the Freestyle Kite World Championship took place in Qatar at Fuwairit Kite Beach. The event marked the third and final stop of the season, crowning Maxime Chablos as the men's champion, while Bruno Kajia led the women's division.
Switzerland's Maxime Chablos landed his first world title during this week's Freestyle Kite World Championship in Qatar. The win, assisted by his backmob move, helped him secure a second-place finish in the competition, just behind German teenager Finn Flugel. However, Chablos managed enough points over the season's 3 competitions to claim the overall prize. He says this win is something he's dreamed of since he was 7 and calls it a sweet victory. Francis Arthur Gilbert finished second on the world stage, with Flugel coming in third and scooping his first World Cup win. Meanwhile, Brazil's Bruna Kajia dominated the women's competition, securing the top spot for the day and the overall championship. The Brazilian has won all 3 events of the season and claims her 5th world title.
Celebrations are lighting up Saudi Arabia as the country gears up to host the 2034 FIFA World Cup. The announcement sparked joy and pride across the country, marking a historic milestone for the kingdom.
In Riyadh, the Middle East Music Festival became the heart of the celebrations. Fireworks lit up the night sky as revelers cheered and danced to the beats. Brazilian football icon Neymar, now playing in the Saudi Pro League, joined the festivities, adding to the excitement on stage. Former Saudi player Yasser Al-Ghattani, attending the event, expressed confidence with a bold promise about the upcoming tournament.
I think from the beginning, Saudi show how we are different than others. We will be the best World Cup in the history, believe me.
Saudi Arabia is set to become the second Middle Eastern nation to host a prestigious event following Qatar's successful 2022 tournament. With its ambitious vision and growing sports infrastructure, the kingdom aims to deliver an unforgettable World Cup experience.
In Italy, the city of Rome is embracing the festive season as the country prepares for the Jubilee year set to begin on Christmas Eve. This year's theme focuses on sustainability, showcased through eco-friendly decorations in the city centre.
The festive season is here, and it's all sparkling lights in Italy's capital, Rome, as the city gears up for the Jubilee year. This year's decorations take on the theme of sustainability. Low consumption lights and minimal CO2 emissions define the project. Under the night sky, the street of Via del Corso transforms into a 2-kilometer-long canopy of lights. The display features 49 water drop motifs, symbolizing the importance of this universal resource, and luminous globes representing global unity and solidarity, a nod to the Jubilee's themes of hope and togetherness. This year's centerpiece is a towering fair from Lombardy. Approximately 5,000 people gathered to witness the tree's inaugural lighting.
That's all from us here in Baku for now. Thank you for watching and stay tuned to AnewZ.